Welcome back to As It Happens. Like I promised, I will be in a conversation with Peter Bruce, my special guest tonight, former editor of the Business Day and now currently writes columns in the Sunday Times and the Business Day. He is the best brainchild of South Africa's capitalism, hosting for some time its foremost mouthpiece, which is the Business Day. We'll be speaking to him because he stands on an opposite side ideologically to myself and the EFF. He is a liberal and believes capitalism is the best economic system ever. So, welcome to As It Happens, Peter Bruce, and thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm deeply honored that you should spend your next 5 minutes with me.
Thank you very much. Well, I want to get on right to it, I hope that we can have as much quick exchange as possible. So the first question really is, what is fascism and what are its main features?
Okay. So you're going back to this is the original column that I wrote a month ago about the EFF. And I found there was a period when I think it started off with Adam Habib at Wits, and then other columnists began to call the EFF a fascist movement, right? So I wrote a column saying, hey, what about me? I'm the last person, etc., etc., etc. And I don't think I actually arrived at the conclusion that the EFF is fascist for one simple reason. I think certainly given the economic policies that you are following, you'll have to be a very authoritarian should you ever come into government. But fascism is a different thing entirely. Fascism, as I know it classically, occurs in conjunction with the church.
You don't think that EFF is fascist?
No, I think you're authoritarian.
But what do you mean by authoritarian?
Well, I think that you're going to have to, if you're going to nationalize the land and you're going to tell people what they can do on the land. In other words, you'll get a 25-year lease, and you'll have to justify what you're doing on it. Otherwise, the EFF or the government that you run, if you run it, may decide that you can't have the land. You'll have to go somewhere else. So that is authoritarian because it stops people doing what they want to do.
With the land, it doesn't stop them from speaking their mind. It doesn't stop them from the religious views. It doesn't stop them who to vote for.
No.
It just says either you use the land or you lose it. So if you're not using the land, what is authoritarian about saying let's give it to someone else?
What you're saying is either you use the land the way we want you to use the land or you lose it.
But where is that? Where in the EFF does it say you have to use it the way we want you to use it? I thought the point that the EFF says is on the principle of use it or lose it.
No. On land, it basically means that state custodianship of land will mean that those who currently occupy land should apply for licensing to continue using the land and should clearly state in the application what they want to use the land for. A maximum of 25 years can then be placed on all land. So you have to get the EFF's agreement.
No, it says you just have to, I mean, you just read it. It says announce what you'll be using the land for. It seems to me even today, most of the land, when you apply in the townships, you can't do business in certain parts of the land. You can't do certain types of business in part of the land. Would you say that that is authoritarian?
No, we must get one thing right. There is a crisis in this country, but you know that and I know that. And we more or less agree on what the crisis is. It's about violence, it's about corruption, it's about alienation, and it's about poverty. And we're just talking about how to fix it, right? And my own view is that and I'm not talking about expropriation, right? I'm talking about nationalization of the land. That nationalizing the land would be a catastrophe.
Okay, you write in one of your pieces that a tiny minority of black people actually want to farm. Could you share with us what source did you use to arrive at that conclusion?
There's no source. Obviously, it's an opinion. So if you look at most of the pages that I write on, they'll say opinion at the top.
So it's your opinion that a tiny section of the black population really want land to farm. Don't you agree that if I make such a conclusion on an influential page, I've got the responsibility at least to back it up with a source?
Not necessarily. I mean, I can also back it up with experience. I mean, in my experience, most people want to live in a decent home, and your party makes that point often. I don't know many people, and I'm willing to concede that perhaps black people and Afrikaners too have an affinity with the land that maybe English urbanites like me don't. But in my experience...
So you don't want the land to farm?
No, I don't actually.
Okay,
I mean,
so I read a stats community survey on agricultural households in 2016 that showed that 2 million agricultural households in the country, there are 2 million,
Yeah.
and that most black agricultural households don't have access to the land.
Yeah.
Would you agree that 2 million is not a tiny...
it's not tiny, but are they do they include the former homelands as well then? I mean, the tribal...
Yeah, but I mean, even if I were to
But people
arrive
have
at
no choice.
1 million of households, that's,
Yeah.
that's a lot of the population.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, it's a moot point, but sure, I'll grant
See,
I'll
my
grant you
point, my
perhaps
problem
perhaps
is,
there are a lot
once
of
you
people-
say, as a columnist,
Yeah.
as a respectable
Yeah.
columnist who has also presided over the intellectual
Yeah.
direction of the business day,
Yeah.
when you begin, because you want to argue against a certain policy, when you say a tiny minority of black people want the land to farm,
Yeah.
I think that at least you've got the responsibility either to back it up as an opinion or not to say it at all, because it will feed to the stereotype that black people don't want the land.
Yeah, but we often say things that we don't precisely mean. I'm saying that I think a minority of black people want to be farmers.
So a lot of you say the things that you precisely don't have most of the sources to back up,
No,
like
that's
in this
not-
point.
No, you're making a very weak point.
Okay, so
I'm simply saying that you just got to look at the pressure on towns. People in towns, living around towns, in shanty towns, in shacks. It's dreadful.
Okay,
And that's a
before we
crisis.
break
It's not a
up.
crisis caused by people wanting to become farmers.
I agree. So let's conclude on these 2 points. We agree that EFF, in your opinion, is not fascist, and secondly,
Not classically
I've just given you not classically. I don't know, because you retreated.
No, well,
now
you're
you are
not-
getting
there's
back
not-
to
no, there's
it.
no Catholic
Okay,
Church.
can we agree that the stats that I read means black people do want the land to farm, and that it's actually a majority,
Some
more than a million?
black people certainly do.
More than a million.
I don't know.
Okay, I read a stat,
Okay.
but it's okay. All right, we'll be back after the break. We're going to get some of your calls. Please call us on 011 759 340. Stay tuned to As It Happens. We'll be back right now. Let's continue, and we'll take your calls live on 011 759 6340. I'm still with Peter Bruce. He's my guest tonight, a columnist. You can still tweet us on @Mbuyiseni or @eNCA. The hashtag is As It Happens. We'll be back.